Did you know that this one passage here in the Bible is what is used by many Bible believers who think that they have esoterically broke down the Bible, that all the churches are wrong, all the people who go to the church, all the pastors, all the apologists, they're all wrong and don't truly understand the Bible, haven't broke the code of the Bible. And it is all based on this passage right here, Galatians chapter 4, verses 21 down to the end of the chapter, where it tells the simple story of retelling of Hagar and Sarai and them having a baby, each one having a baby. And that the fact that Paul says in here that this is the allegory. As Hagar had the baby and the baby was of the flesh and the baby was from slavery, so too the Arabs are the children of slavery. And Sarah had the promised baby, the baby of the spirit, and from the promised baby of the spirit are the children of Israel. Paul was using this and saying this is an allegory for why you are the chosen ones of Israel and why those who follow the path of Isaac, which then comes to Jesus, are the chosen ones of God, and that is of the spirit and the rest is of the flesh. He was utilizing their story as an allegory. He wasn't saying that it was an allegory that Abraham never existed. But many of the esoteric Christians, or the ones who even claim to be deconstructing, will gravitate towards this one and then all of a sudden magically see other codes in the Bible, or what the serpent represented, what Job represented, what Satan represented, and what the Leviathan represented, and then what Moses and Abraham, and even what the Christ mind. Jesus is not a person; he was the Christ mind. It is. They go into all this extra nonsense. Now I call it nonsense, and I call it that because you're trying to utilize a book that was written to be taken literally for the most part. Like it was written to be taken literally. The writers of the Bible believe that Adam and Eve actually existed. They believe that Abraham actually existed. The flood, Noah and his flood actually happened. Moses and his Exodus actually happened. Let me put it like this. If the people who wrote the book and who believe that they are the chosen ones of Israel did not believe that it was a literal story, then their kingship that went through David is then a lie to their own selves. Then them coming from Abraham is a lie. Them coming from Adam and Eve is a lie. No people on the planet, no ancient people on the planet wrote or believed in a creation story that they thought was all allegory. They all believe that the flood literally happened. They believe that their God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, created all of existence. That Adam and Eve were the first man and woman, and that they come from the line of Seth. The Sethians believe that they come from the line of Seth. If you are a Christian and you believe in Jesus, that he actually existed, then you have to believe that Abraham existed, that it is not an allegory. So all these Bible codes and those people wrote in codes. And what makes it even more ridiculous is the idea that it was written back then. None of those people took it as code or understood the code, maybe a select few, but it is now to be revealed. So not only did this God create a book of divinity that took forever in the slowest possible method to spread to all the world, but even so, he only made sure a very few people even actually understood it, who actually heard it and understood the real message. This makes no sense whatsoever. And like I said, with every religion, people believe that it happened literally. Hercules literally killed two snakes when he was an infant. They think it's literal. So just because I know what the problem is, you reject all the negative and all the fantastical things about this book. You reject the idea that a talking donkey was a donkey was seeing an angel, and then when Balaam finished beating the donkey spoke to Balaam. Is you don't want to accept that that's true, so you must find an allegory, because it seems ridiculous, and it is ridiculous. But Christians and Bible believers must accept the fact that their story is based on people believing that a donkey talked. Their story is a belief that your God drowned all the babies in Noah's flood. That there was a snake, a serpent that spoke in the garden, that he spoke words. So you got to believe in talking animals. You have to believe that there was an animal called a behemoth. And no, this is not an elephant or a hippopotamus, because it said that it has a tail that was like the cedar, like the cedar tree. So that don't fit. And that there's a leviathan that spits out fire and all these sorts of things. Dragons. You have to believe that these are little animals. And that the sea actually literally split. And that your God killed, had an angel come down, or the spirit of death come down and kill every firstborn of Egypt. That means adults down to the smallest baby. You have to literally believe those things. And you want to see a code, you want to see something different so that it doesn't offend your sense of morality. When the truth of the matter is, if you recognize that all of it is just fairy tale, that none of those things actually happen, that there's never was a Moses, never was a Noah, there was never a worldwide flood, there was never this Garden of Eden, that the Leviathan never existed. They mistaken fossilized dinosaur bones as they did in the medieval times and called them dinosaurs, great lizards, and thought that they were dragons and created stories of dragons. Dragons have never existed. These were just dinosaur bones that they mistook as great serpents and dragons. You got to free yourself from this nonsense. And I know you want to, but you want to hold on to it because you've been taught it. But if you truly want to understand nature, you don't need the Bible. You want to understand the universe, you don't need the Bible. You want to understand who you are, you don't need the Bible. And we certainly don't need it as a society, as a governing piece of how we should live. Because if we lived by the Bible, we'd be forcing our daughters into marriages and be sold off. If we lived by the Bible, we would be forced to stone gay people. If we lived by the Bible, we would be forced to stone witches. If we lived by the Bible, then we would be forced to enslave people who are from a different tribe from us. If we was living by the Bible, when we go to war, we would kill all the men, kill all the women, burn down all the animals, and kill all the women who've known a man and take the young girls as our wives. If we live by the Bible. When a young lady is essayed, the essayist wouldn't go to jail, but pay the father 50 pieces of silver, and then the victim has to marry her essayist if we was living by the Bible. These are not allegory. How do you make that about women being essayed into an allegory? What's the lesson? Truly, there is none other than the evil of this book. So y'all have a great day, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.